The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
It was a remarkable, truly historic moment, set to split an already fiercely divided country and threaten the presidency of Donald Trump.
Today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry.
Nancy Pelosi, top Democrat on Capitol Hill, was blunt. Trump, she said, has betrayed his oath of office and represents a threat to U.S. national security.
The actions taken to date by the president have seriously violated the Constitution.
It's all about what Trump did or did not say to the president of Ukraine this summer. The reported allegation by a whistleblower from U.S. intelligence is that Trump tried to leverage U.S. aid to Ukraine to pressure that country into digging up dirt on Trump rival Joe Biden. Inviting foreign interference into U.S. politics is a clear violation of U.S. law. Trump has acknowledged talks with Ukraine's president, but insists he's put no pressure on that country to do anything.
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt. I'm leading in the polls. They have no idea how they stop me. The only way they can try is through impeachment.
Regardless how he frames it, impeachment it is. And Trump, who tonight called it presidential harassment, becomes one of just a handful of U.S. presidents ever to face such a process. And what a process it'll be in the run-up to the 2020 presidential election. As Trump dined at the UN today with Ukraine's president just a table or two away, the expectation in Washington is that it's all about to turn ever more intense. Tomorrow, Trump will release a transcript of one of his conversations with Ukraine's president, insisting it'll exonerate him. And on Capitol Hill, the whistleblower who started all of this is now trying to meet this week directly with lawmakers amid word his report may also now be sent to them.
So, Paul, Trump's critics have been pushing for impeachment since at least the release of the Mueller report back in the spring. So why move to impeach him now?
Well, look, Nancy Pelosi had resisted this step for a long time. Not least went the thinking because polls say fact is most Americans have no appetite for impeachment hearings right now. But lately, more Democrats, even where Trump has support, have moved on side on it. Pelosi also believes these allegations are easy for people to grasp, with the kicker that none of this is about stuff said to have happened before he was president. It's while he's been president. So there's been pressure that if you don't call him out on it now, when can you? Yes, Democrats fear it'll all backfire and that somehow Trump will emerge stronger. But as Pelosi said, to put it privately today, this is the moment of truth for Trump, and truth is what this has always been about. Andrew.
Okay, Paul, thanks very much. Now, whatever happens, it'll likely happen fast. Historically, the impeachment process in Congress takes just a few months. So here's how it breaks down. First, the House conducts an investigation and draws up what are called the articles of impeachment. Essentially, it's a list of charges that Trump will face. To impeach, the House needs a simple majority vote. But that's just the beginning, because after, the Senate holds a trial presided over by the U.S. Chief Justice. To actually strip Trump of office, 2/3 of the Senate would have to be on side. And keep in mind, past presidents have been impeached, but the number who've actually been removed because of it, 0.
Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. We've had lots of busy news days, but getting your hands around all that's happened today is very difficult. So I want to break this down to something very simple.
Sure.
The president admits that on a phone call with the president of Ukraine, he requested that the president of Ukraine investigate his 2020 political rival, Joe Biden. Is that a crime?
It is a crime for the president to solicit aid for his campaign from a foreign government.
So that would be that to which the president has admitted is in and of itself a crime.
Yes, this is the same crime for which the Trump organization was investigated by Bob Mueller, who decided not to seek an indictment because there wasn't enough evidence.
Well, no, he said he didn't seek an indictment because he wasn't charged because of the DOJ rule that said you can lay it out, but you can't charge.
That's on the obstruction of justice, on whether or not there was a conspiracy between the Russians and the Trump campaign. He said there's some evidence, but not enough to indict. It's the same crime, an agreement or a solicitation for assistance for an American campaign, regulated by the Federal Election Commission, where you are seeking the assistance from a foreign government. That's the crime.
Rudy Giuliani says he too pressed Ukrainian officials to investigate Biden at the direction, he says, of the administration. Is that a crime?
If that was done in order to enhance the president's re-election campaign, yes, it's the same crime that the president would have committed. If the president said, I want you to investigate my principal opponent's son, thinking to himself it's going to help his campaign.
The whistleblower first reported the president's action and unspecified other actions. It's not just about this phone call. According to reporting, there's more.
Right.
First reported that through proper channels. The inspector general deemed that information credible and of urgent concern. Rather than take that complaint to the Congress, the inspector general went to the administration for guidance, and the administration blocked its transfer to the Congress. Is that a problem legally?
Yes, the administration is on very, very thin ice on the grounds on which it blocked it for two reasons. One, the statute says the inspector general, if he finds the complaint to be credible and urgent, shall, not may, shall share it with the Gang of Eight. The Gang of Eight is the bipartisan leadership of both houses of Congress and the bipartisan leadership of both intelligence committees, the one in the House and the one in the Senate. He didn't do that. He got a cockamamie, I'll tell you why I say that in a minute, ruling from the Justice Department that he didn't have to bring it. The ruling from the Justice Department says, well, wait a minute. The complaint was filed with the Inspector General of the intelligence community. The president doesn't work for the intelligence community, he works for the American public, and therefore the complaint is moot. Moot? The complaint accuses the president of the United States of bribery. How can that be moot? The Congress has every right under the statute to know about it. That's where we stand legally with the DOJ right now.
Based on the specifics of what we know, forget about the phone call, forget all of the things about which we have no knowledge, just based on the things that the president has admitted. The president's admitted that he made a phone call to the new president of Ukraine. The president has admitted that he had discussions about investigating his upcoming 2020 presidential rival. Based on that in and of itself, how serious is this matter for the nation and the democracy, legally speaking?
When Bob Mueller made his findings that the obstruction of justice it could be an impeachable offense, that's equivocal. Bribery absolutely is an impeachable offense. There's no equivocation. Why do I say that? Because it's stated in the Constitution. The basis for impeachment, treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. If the president offered a bribe, to the president of the Ukraine, that would be an impeachable offense.
Would that have to be an explicit bribe? And I ask because the Democrats point to the following. First, there was the withholding of the aid which the Congress, in a bipartisan way, had approved for Ukraine in its ongoing conflict with the Russians. Then the president, without explanation at the time, blocked that transfer of money. Within 1 week, according to the reporting of Wall Street Journal, and now since confirmed by Fox News, there was a phone call during which the president discussed the investigation of the former vice president, his future rival. That's how you're getting to this bribery accusation?
Yes. Now, the jury, the grand jury is the House of Representatives. They decide whether or not this constitutes bribery and whether or not the president should be put on trial for it. The trial jury is the Senate. They also would decide whether or not this constitutes bribery. What words did the president use? Did the president use code words, as one of his former lawyers said he often does when he knows others are listening to his conversations? Did the recipient of those words understand them to be code words? The conversation that President Zelensky had with Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut will come into this, because Chris Murphy of Connecticut said, please don't do what the president asked you to do. And according to Senator Murphy, President Zelensky said, don't worry, we're not going to do it.
Often it's very difficult to see the forest for the trees. Based on your knowledge, historically and otherwise, of legal matters related to the presidency, how big a day is this?
Perhaps it's monumental in terms of where we're going to go from here.
Thought. In a speech accusing him of violating the Constitution and seeking help from a foreign leader to damage a political opponent, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi formally opened impeachment proceedings against our president. This after President Trump openly admitted that he asked the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden's role in pushing for the ouster of a prosecutor there following a whistleblower complaint. Speaker Pelosi has long resisted the growing calls for impeachment, but yesterday morning, senior member John Lewis, who for months now has stayed out of the impeachment fight out of respect for the speaker, gave an impassioned speech of his own, saying that, quote, I truly believe the time to begin impeachment proceedings against the president has come. To delay or to do otherwise would betray the foundation of our democracy, end quote. Now, when a warrior like John Lewis is calling you to take action, what you going to do? You pick up the shield and yell, "This is Sparta." And that's exactly what Pelosi did. Now, impeachment has never been popular with the public. It wasn't popular during Richard Nixon's, and it wasn't popular during Bill Clinton's. But popularity, or the lack thereof, shouldn't stop a public servant from doing what they think is right. It certainly shouldn't stop them from seeking the truth. As of now, 196 Democratic lawmakers agree. The Speaker is pretty much guaranteed that the House will vote on the articles charging our president with high crimes and misdemeanors, which will then kick it over to the Senate. Under normal circumstances, I would say it would die there. Our deep partisanship would absolutely force me to conclude such. I've been disappointed by our elected officials many times when they've decided to play political games instead of fact-finding. The Brett Kavanaugh, Michael Cohen, and Robert Mueller sagas come to mind. What I do know is this: in the end, our president cannot ask a foreign government for assistance in tarring his supposed enemies. This is and can only be seen as unacceptable, and the punishment for these actions should be swift. Should be. In the words of John Lewis, the people have a right to know whether they can put their faith and trust in the outcome of our election. They have a right to know whether the cornerstone of our democracy has been undermined by people sitting in the White House today, end quote. We're going to continue this conversation online all day, really. You guys have a beautiful Wednesday. Congratulations to the Nats. Thank y'all for picking us up when we needed it most. Go Mystics. Get up, DC.